You're standing in front of 23 teenagers who think you're here to teach them. What they don't know is that you stopped caring about their education 6 months ago. Now you're running numbers of a different kind. It started the way these things always start. Small. A student's parent offers you $200 to bump their kid's grade from a C to a B. You tell yourself it's just this once. The parent is desperate. The kid is actually trying. What's the harm in a little grade inflation when the system is already broken anyway? You take the money. Nobody notices. That's the problem and the opportunity. Nobody is watching. You became a teacher because you believed the classroom was the one place where it didn't matter who your parents were or what neighborhood you came from. The grade was the grade. The work was the work. Nobody could buy their way past a red pen. You believed that for 11 years. The $200 is the first crack. Within 3 weeks, you've got a system. Wealthy parents pay for grade adjustments. You're careful about it. Never more than one letter grade. Never for students who are completely failing. You maintain plausible deniability. These kids were borderline anyway. You're just being generous with partial credit. That's what you tell yourself while depositing cash into a savings account your wife doesn't know exists. The money solves problems you'd forgotten you had. The credit card debt from your master's degree that's been choking you for 8 years. Gone. The car that's been making that grinding noise. Fixed. You're a teacher in America, which means you've spent your entire career being told you're a hero while being paid like you're disposable. Now you're finally getting compensated for what you're actually worth. That's the story. You're getting good at the story. Your colleague Sarah notices you're less stressed. You tell her your aunt died and left you some inheritance. She hugs you and says she's sorry for your loss. You accept the sympathy for a dead aunt who doesn't exist because lying has become as natural as breathing. That's what happens when you cross certain lines. The first lie is hard. The 100th is effortless. But grade changes are small money. 300 here, 500 there. You're pulling in maybe $2,000 a month. Enough to stop drowning, but not enough to actually get ahead. That changes when a man in an expensive suit approaches you after parent-teacher conferences. He's different from the other parents. Quiet confidence. He doesn't waste time with pleasantries. His son Brandon currently has a 3.2 GPA. He needs a 3.8. He's willing to pay $15,000 for you to make that happen. You should say no. This isn't grade inflation. This is academic fraud. But $15,000 is 6 months of your take-home salary. You think about your student loans, about your landlord who just raised the rent, about the retirement account you haven't contributed to in 3 years because there's never anything left over. You think about the superintendent who makes 4 times your salary while you're buying classroom supplies with your own money. The system has been robbing you for a decade. Maybe it's time to rob it back. Changing Brandon's grades requires more than adjusting a few test scores. You need to go into the system and retroactively alter an entire semester's worth of assignments. Quizzes, tests, projects, participation grades. You spend hours forging a paper trail that makes his improvement look organic. A struggling student who suddenly found his footing. It's actually impressive work. If you put this much effort into actual teaching, you might be better at your job than you are. Brandon's father sends you a thank you card with another $5,000 inside for your excellent mentorship. You deposit it in the secret account. The balance hits $32,000. Word spreads the way it always does in wealthy circles. Quietly. Through networks of parents who see education as a transaction rather than a process. Within 2 months, you've got 4 more clients. Your department head pulls you aside one day, says she's noticed several of your students have shown remarkable improvement this year, thinks you found some innovative teaching method, asks if you'd be willing to present at the next faculty development workshop. You say you'd be honored. The irony tastes like copper in your mouth. Marcus Webb is in your 3rd period junior class. He transferred from a public school across town on an academic scholarship. He writes essays that are genuinely good. The kind where you can feel the thinking happening in real time rather than being performed for the rubric. He argues in class the way students used to argue before they all decided participation was a performance risk. He stays after sometimes to push back on a grade, not because he wants it changed, but because he wants to understand where he lost you. That almost never happens anymore. He's applying to Georgetown, Vanderbilt, University of Michigan. His GPA is a 3.94. His essays are strong. He has a real shot. You don't think about Marcus when you change grades. You think about him after. There's another student you've been thinking about. Amy Rodriguez, single mother who works 2 jobs. Amy is genuinely brilliant, getting real A's through actual effort. She's applying to the same schools as your paying clients. Her transcript is flawless because she earned it. Your clients' transcripts are flawless because you manufactured them. The universities won't know the difference. You do. When acceptance letters arrive, Amy might get rejected because someone who can't write a coherent thesis statement took her spot. You tell yourself it's not your problem, the system was rigged before you got here. It's almost noble when you frame it that way. Almost. Brandon's father has other ideas. He shows up at your house on a Saturday morning. You make the mistake of letting him inside. He sits at your kitchen table like he owns it and explains his new proposal. His business partner has a daughter at a different high school. He's willing to pay $50,000 for you to access her school's system remotely and adjust her records. You tell him no. You're done. He nods slowly, then asks if your principal knows about Brandon's grades, about the others. Says he's kept detailed records of every transaction, dates, amounts, email exchanges you thought were encrypted. Says the school administration has questions about grade patterns already. He's not threatening you exactly, just reminding you that your fate has never been entirely in your own hands. That's when you realize you were never the predator in this scenario. You were always the prey. These people didn't need your skills. They needed your desperation, and desperate people are easy to control. The $50,000 isn't an opportunity. It's a collar. Once you take it, you're owned. There will always be another daughter, another son, another business partner's nephew. The price will keep rising, and your complicity will deepen until you're so far underground that sunlight becomes a memory. You call Brandon's father 48 hours later and tell him you'll do it. The acceptance letters come in March. Marcus gets waitlisted at Georgetown. Amy gets waitlisted everywhere except her safety school. She cries in your classroom after school, tells you she doesn't understand what she did wrong. Her grades were perfect. Her essays were strong. You tell her college admissions are unpredictable and she'll thrive wherever she goes. Every word is accurate. Nothing you say is true. She believes you because she has to believe something. That night you stare at the money you've accumulated. Blood money. You didn't physically hurt anyone. But Amy's tears are on your hands just as much as if you'd pushed her down yourself. Marcus tells you after class on a Thursday. Quietly. The way he does everything. Without drama, without performance. He says he got waitlisted and he's okay, but he wanted you to know because you've been his favorite teacher. He thanks you for writing his recommendation. Says it meant a lot that you took the time. You tell him the waitlist moves. You tell him Michigan is a great school. You tell him these things are never fully in our control. He nods and picks up his bag and walks out. He doesn't know. You know? The weight of those two things existing at the same time is different from anything you've carried before. The federal investigation begins not because of you specifically, but because of your principal, who has been running a version of this operation for 9 years across multiple schools, and whose LLC finally attracted the wrong kind of attention. Your name is in the documents because your name is in all the documents. That was always going to be true. Your lawyer is good. The cooperation agreement is structured carefully. You provide testimony in exchange for a reduced charge. You lose your teaching license. You pay back everything with interest. You do not go to prison, which your lawyer tells you is the best possible outcome given what the documents show. Your daughter asks what you want for Christmas that year. You tell her you have everything you need. She laughs and says that's what guilty people say in movies. She's joking. You buy her the expensive art supplies. Tell yourself you did this for her. But late at night, when the house is quiet, you know that's not true. You did this because stopping required courage you didn't have. The first envelope corrupted your integrity. Everything after that just corrupted the rest. You think about Marcus sometimes. He graduated from Michigan. He's in law school now, you've heard. Nobody knows what you know about why Michigan and not Georgetown. That knowledge lives only in you. It will stay there. The classroom you believed in for 11 years. The one where the grade was the grade and nobody could buy their way past a red pen, exists somewhere. Other people are in it. You just stopped being part of it a long time before anyone made you stop.